Good morning. What's going on in Aleppo, Syria's second city? For 4 years, it's been a key battleground in the Syrian civil war, a battle between Syrian soldiers fighting on behalf of their president, President Assad, and those who oppose the way he runs their country. As a result, Aleppo has ended up divided roughly in half, with opposition supporters and what are called rebel fighters controlling the east and the Syrian government the west. You may possibly be immune to reports of the fighting there. It's been going on for a long time, after all, and nothing really changes, does it? Apart from more people being killed, of course. But reports today say the Battle of Aleppo is reaching its bloody conclusion because Syrian government forces say they're close to taking full control of the devastated city. And there are warnings this morning of atrocities in the east. It's feared civilians, dads, brothers, mums, sisters, children are being slaughtered on the streets. Syrian state television shows some people in parts of the city celebrating after the army swept through more rebel districts. Some posts on social media, though, tell a very different story. Residents have been posting their wills and saying goodbye to their families because they don't expect to survive. Have a look at this tweet from someone inside Aleppo, Muntha Itaki. "We are still here in besieged Aleppo. The regime did not take the city. People are needs for help. We are calling for international protection." Rebel fighters are now trapped in a small pocket in the east, along with thousands of civilians. We don't know, it's impossible to say how many. And they've come under intense bombardment from the Syrian army, backed up by Russian planes dropping bombs. Overnight, the UN Secretary-General, Ban Ki-moon, has expressed alarm at reports of atrocities against large numbers of civilians. Here's another tweet. This one is from Banner. "Final message. People are dying since last night. I'm very surprised. I'm tweeting right now and still alive." And you can see that's been retweeted 5,500 times. And then she says, "Final message. I'm very sad. No one is helping us in this world. No one is evacuating me and my daughter. Goodbye." Again, retweeted this one 7,700 times. That will not do her any good, though, will it? The White Helmets, they're a Syrian volunteer group. They've tweeted this. "There is no total number of casualties in besieged Aleppo today. All the streets and destroyed buildings are full with dead bodies. It's hell." And they've also tweeted this. "We hear children crying. We hear calls for help. But we just can't do anything. We are being bombed continuously. Hashtag Save Aleppo." Rami says this. "You guess it's goodbye. Thanks all who stand for us and pray for us. But it's almost over, and they are just hours away from killing us." We haven't been able to verify all of the tweets we've shown. On the programme yesterday, we spoke to Abdul Kafi Alamado, an English teacher in eastern Aleppo. He was pretty desperate, and he told me about what people there were facing.
Now the situation inside the eastern part of Aleppo is the doomsday. Really, it's the doomsday. It's literally the doomsday. Just when I'm coming here to internet center, I have to take maybe 15 minutes. Although it's so close to my house, because bombs are everywhere. People are running. They don't know where, just running. Some people are injured in the streets. No one can dare go to help them. Some people are under the rubble. No one can help them. They just leave them until they die under the rubble, to be these houses as their graves. Bombs here are like rain. People really don't know what to do. For me, just I risk my life. I risk my life to go out because it's so dangerous. No one can move 10 meters or 20 without having bombs close to him. People, most of them now don't have houses because all those people who moved from the areas that controlled recently by the regime now are in our areas. So it's so dense, and the bombs are like rain. So they make very, very huge numbers of casualties and killed people.
That was Abdul talking to us live from his city, Aleppo, yesterday. Abdul has posted what he now calls his final message on social media. I can tweet now, but I might not do it forever. Please save my daughter's life and others. This is a call from a father. And he also posted this video message.
Don't believe anymore in the United Nations. Don't believe anymore in the international community. Don't think that they are not satisfied with what's going on. They are satisfied that we are being killed, that we are facing one of the most difficult or the most serious or the most horrible massacre that is in the new history. Russia doesn't want us to go out alive. They want us dead. Assad is the same. Exactly yesterday there were many celebrations on the other part of Aleppo. They were celebrating on our bodies. It's okay, this is life. But at least we know that we were free people. We wanted freedom.
Wow, we wanted freedom. Let's talk now to Caroline Anning from Save the Children. She's recently returned from the area. Mohammed Isreb used to live in Aleppo. He's now in Leeds. He has friends in Aleppo and he lost contact with them earlier today. And Yasmin Nalawi, who is from Manchester, where she works for the Syrian People's Advocacy Group, Rethink, Rebuild. I want to talk to you, first of all, Mohammed. You say you've lost contact with your friends and relatives in Aleppo. When was the last time you spoke to them?
2 days ago, actually, in the evening. That was the last time I spoke to them, and they were saying that do anything that you can to help us, like try to go out to the street, do anything, just get out of there.
Right. And when you hear Ahmed posting what he says could be his last video message saying, we don't believe in the United Nations anymore, I mean, he's right, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I actually was hearing from all my friends. They actually say we lost faith in humanity at all now. It's just like, they say they don't believe that the world can see what's happening there and leave them there and like just continue as nothing is happening.
Caroline, I mean, there is absolutely nothing anyone can do. Do you think that's fair?
Well, I don't think it's fair actually to say that there's nothing that anybody could do. We could have the ability as the international community to solve anything, I think, if people really put the effort needed into it. And we've utterly failed. I mean, what is true that we have utterly failed to protect civilians and children in particular in East Aleppo.
But just let me interrupt. I'm sorry, Caroline. Nothing is going to change now. The Syrian government forces, if what they say is true, that they have nearly retaken the whole of Aleppo, nothing is going to stop that from happening. And therefore, nothing is going to stop more civilians potentially being killed.
Well, I still have to disagree, I think, and say that we can stop civilians being killed now. We still have that opportunity. So you're right that the Syrian army has now taken, I think, about 98% of the territory that was opposition held in East Aleppo. That seems like that's now a fact that area is going to fall. But that doesn't mean that we can't still protect the aid workers and the civilians, the children that are still trapped in that area. Now that the military situation is essentially at an end, we see no reason why we can't now have a ceasefire and allow for the safe passage monitored by the Red Cross and the UN to allow people out of those areas, to at least save some lives, to at least make sure that those aid workers and those children are able to leave safely.
But if there is to be a ceasefire, I mean, if you were President Assad, you would not agree to that until you had retaken 100% of Aleppo, which means more people are going to be killed in the meantime.
Well, that's something, Britain, the UK Parliament is meeting this morning. We sit on the UN Security Council with the Russians, who've been key allies of the Syrian government, have supported them militarily and politically through this. And so, as I say, we shouldn't ever say that anything is impossible. Yes, they might want to take the rest of the territory, but does that mean that we can't open up safe routes to get civilians out? I don't think so. We've seen it done in other conflicts, and it could be done here as well. I think we can't. We've done it for too long that we've thrown our hands up and said, Syria is impossible, Aleppo is impossible. And this is the outcome, is that people die and people are forced to flee their homes. And I think we have to stop doing that.
We're going to talk now to someone who is in the west of Aleppo, Pavel Spishek, who is working there for the International Committee of the Red Cross. Pavel, I hope you can hear us okay. Clearly, being in the west is very different from being in the east. The west is run by President Assad and his government, effectively. But what are you hearing from those who are trapped in the east as Syrian soldiers try to retake what is still held by rebel fighters and opposition activists?
So what do people who are still in the east, but also from the people who actually fled from eastern side to the western side, and right now are in collective shelters under the control of the local authorities here, are the stories of immense human suffering. Are the stories that are unbelievable. Are the stories of really a deep suffering on the individual basis of the difficult choices those people have to make every day, or the very tragic humanitarian situation in the places from where they have to flee or where they currently are. I mean, and this is our main concern for the time being, that the fate of the civilians, whatever they choose to do, whether they stay or they decide to flee, they must be protected. Yes. And it's in the hands of the fighting sides to protect them and to allow the humanitarian organizations, as the ICRC, as the Syrian Arab Red Crescent, to reach them with the humanitarian aid.
Are you getting reports from people in the east about civilians being slaughtered on the streets?
I mean, we're hearing a lot of reports and social media and the TV programs are full of the different accounts and stuff. I mean, honestly, right now, it's very difficult to know what is true and what is not true. For us, the main concern is to reach these people.
Yeah.
And we are offering our neutral intermediary service as the ICRC, because this is our mandate. This is what we have been doing for over 150 years. We are offering these services to the fighting sides to implement any provision of the mutual agreements for the sake of the civilians that will allow civilians to get humanitarian aid or allow them to be evacuated in safety. And we are ready. We are on the standby. There must be agreement between the sides.
Okay, I want to just go back to Caroline, if I may, from Save the Children, recently returned from the area. This message from Tony says there's simply not enough independent reporting from Aleppo. We don't actually know what's going on.
Well, it's certainly true that, well, for one thing, Aleppo has been essentially under siege since the summer, since the start of July. So almost nobody, certainly no international aid agencies have been able to go in, and therefore almost no journalists are there either. But at the same time, we have trusted partners who are in East Aleppo, hundreds of aid workers who are people that we've been working with across Syria for a number of years now. And while I can't go into the city and verify their accounts, we speak to them every day. We have monitoring mechanisms. And what we do know, without a shadow of a doubt, is that indiscriminate bombing has happened on civilian areas. Hospitals have been hit, schools have been hit, hundreds of children have been killed, and that there's almost no food left in the city. Those are things that we can guarantee. So while we can't say that we can say that every incident or every particular news story can be verified, we know that there's immense human suffering in East Aleppo, and that there has been for months on end.
Yasmin, what do you want the international community to do?
Well, I completely echo what Carolyn said earlier. It's not an issue of whether we can or can't do something. We've always been able to do something. What's been missing time and time again is the lack of political will. And our policymakers have been scapegoating random issues and random facts on the ground to make excuses for their inaction. But we can ensure the safety of civilians if we have the political will to do so. We can ensure a ceasefire if we have the political will to do so. And I appeal to everyone watching this today. We've seen horrible footage come out from Aleppo. We've heard the appeals made by the residents themselves. And I appeal to everyone watching this today to get in touch with your elected officials, to let them know that they must take action. They must call for action by the government, by the UK government, or by other governments if they're watching this in other parts of the world, to take action and to ensure civilian protection in Aleppo and in Syria as a whole.
And can I ask you, Yasmin, when you say get in touch with your elected representatives in Britain to ask them to take action, what is the action that you want them to take?
Right now in East Aleppo, we're seeing massacres of people on the ground. We're seeing heavy bombardment. So we need to ensure safety of civilians. We need to ensure safe passage. Sorry
to interrupt. In practical terms, that is the international community saying to President Putin and President Assad and various other fighters who've joined from Iran and wherever else, saying, just pause for a moment. You've nearly taken Aleppo, but just hang on a sec. Just let these thousands of civilians out. They're not going to do that.
Let the thousands of civilians out, but even more, stop the bombardment. When we're saying let the civilians out and then keep bombing, I think the issue here is the bombing as well. We need to find a solution for Syria. And while policymakers have been saying that they want a political solution, what progress have we seen on this track? We have let Assad and Russia bomb Syria for the past 5+ years, and we have not done anything about it. So we need to protect civilians, whether that means allowing those who want to get out of the city safe passage, but also to stop the bombs that are coming from the air.
Okay. I thank you all very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. We heard from Pavel from the International Committee of the Red Cross, actually in Aleppo. Caroline Anning, Save the Children, recently returned from the area, and Mohammed Isra, who is a Syrian in Leeds, and he has lost touch, or lost contact, he said, today anyway, with friends and relations.